Okay, here we are. Welcome, everybody, to a new week at Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. Today is our housing day. It's a Tuesday, and we are turning ourselves to Section 12 of our Housing Bill S328. And with us, we have a terrific assortment of people who are experts in this area and in this proposal, who I am sure are all going to want to weigh in, which is why we've invited them. So we're going to begin with Richard Wamby, who is Executive Vice President of and Director of Safety and Training and Member Services of the Associated General Contractors. So welcome, Richard. It's good to have you back in our committee.
Thank you very much for having me.
We would love to hear how you feel about Section 12.
Well, and I have a handout I'm happy to share with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to comment on the proposal. My concern is we are creating incentives or favoring a distinct group of contractors. And within the state of Vermont right now, less than 90%, less than 10% of the construction workforce is actually made up of a unionized workforce. The 90% range, and it gets lower in some counties, it drops to about 97%. Some counties are non-union houses, and by incentivizing a union build or putting stipulations on this, we are going to slow down the build out of housing. We're going to minimize our workforce, or we're going to.
That was so random.
I don't know why you're coming through my computer. Sorry.
We don't either, but let's keep going.
Or you're going to have to use a larger share or an extremely large share of out-of-state contractors to meet that union threshold with which you're setting in there. Many of our Vermont contractors are small family.
On tonight.
Small
Heather, we're
family.
just going to have to ask you to not use it.
Family. You're the one screwing me up. Okay. Small family businesses, and those businesses are going to be placed at a disadvantage. If we're looking at the infrastructure required within the houses, the plumbing, the electrical or heating, we see a larger share of contractors that are unionized in those areas. The build out themselves, for the larger share of the house, is generally non-union run. So I got a handout. I can go in deeper. I just think within this, we're going to create an increase of cost to build those houses, often significantly. The rural areas will be excluded. You just won't be able to afford to go into those areas. And then it will create an uneven playing field out there that prioritizes one group of people over the other. The last thing we would want to do as a group is discriminate against a group of folks.
So one thing we've talked informally about, and we haven't yet taken action on redrafting this with Pam or Ellen. One thing that I know we've talked about, because it's a little general and it's just one sentence, we've talked about qualifying this to be multi-unit residential units, obviously not individual family homes, which would need clarification. So limiting, making this provision for multi-unit, for large housing construction. And the other piece that has been considered, and I've asked that all the witnesses think about this, is that we might consider limiting this to multi-unit, substantial multi-unit residential dwellings, and using union or prevailing wage to address the issue of the workforce in Vermont that mayor. So that those have been some things. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, the prevailing wage doesn't bother me. We're paying it. We pay it. It's part of the whole deal. Within that, it doesn't matter whether it's multi-unit or single unit when we get out there. when you set a 20% threshold, which is what I understood, section 12 reference. When you set a 20% threshold and only 7% of your workforce is unionized, you can't meet that threshold building that out.
Well, I think that it's saying that, I think it's a positive, it's meant to be a positive thing, which is if you use union labor for this type of housing construction, that you would get a 20% bonus, density bonus, that meant you could build more housing on that lot. And that's the character.
Maybe I misinterpreted the way
I think
read it.
that's my understanding is that is, that it's really meant to be, for the
Instead
point of
build
density here.
further.
She is trying to encourage density, as we all are, in the appropriate places. And I think that this is meant to say, if you do use union labor or have a prevailing wage on these units, that you would get a density bonus.
So, and I'm not nearly as educated in this group here when it comes to this, but in my mind, if we want to build houses, every time we put another block in front of that build, we slow it down. And so I'm a developer and I want to build houses, and I've got my permits in place to build my houses, and now I can get 20% more if I do this. I gotta go back to the drawing board, start again, and take a look at what I'm pulling together. So, it's my fear again is our goal should be simple: get the best work we can out there, best price using the best materials and the best workforce. And any policy that would restrict or incentivize anything outside of that, then we should rethink.
Right.
And I feel like you're throwing that on the table.
Right. Thank you. Any
Okay.
questions for Richard before we move on? Right. Richard, good to have you.
I
Thank
do have a question.
Oh, Randy, sorry.
Almost go.
Sorry, no, no.
Whoa, I have a very lengthy question.
Go ahead. sir.
As a contractor, as a developer, and you obviously know what particularly smaller businesses are doing in Vermont in the contracting area. What are the obstacles for using union labor?
I don't know if there's obstacles to it, but historically Vermont has not embraced union labor other than within the electrical or plumbing field. I think, seriously, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, Randy, we would have a different conversation. I know we are working with, we are the largest trade educator right now when it comes to it. We're working with DOL to present the apprenticeship model.
Right.
We're
We
working
are so grateful for that.
we're working to present the NCCER core development model, which also pushes forward some of the apprenticeship pieces. So I think it's a different scope. It's not like, and I hate to say back in my day, but back in my day, we came into the industry and learned from that, not necessarily this teaching model. So I think we have a different conversation in a few years.
Right.
But not today.
Great.
We need housing today.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Richard, so much.
Sorry.
And given our time, we're gonna
No, I
move
got you.
along.
You're good.
No, thank you so much for making the time to come in. Larry, would you be kind enough to join us?
Sure.
And Randy, before you come in, I
Large.
don't know if you heard when I said we're looking at this as a probably multi.
I did put my phone
and-
number on
and
that
prevailing
handout
wage
sheet
and
if you want to talk to me.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Very welcome. It's
Thank
good to see you. If you introduce yourself, and I think all of us, have you met all of us
Yeah, I mean,
over the last year?
the last couple of
Right.
years. So I'm Larry Moquin. I am the business manager for Laborers Local 668, which covers a portion of New Hampshire and the entire state of Vermont. I'm the vice president of building trades here in Vermont, and I also am the president of the AFL-CIO. I appreciate your time and then, taking this up, and I really appreciate the idea that's in S328. I think we need to clarify it like you
Yeah.
are already talking about. And I would just say, I didn't get to write you guys some testimony. I will submit some later on, but it's been a busy few weeks here. But a survey or analysis that the Association of General Contractors of America did that came out in 2022 with almost 6,000, 1,800 union contractors, 3,900 non-union contractors, showed that, when you're building housing and needing a workforce, that union contractors 21% of the time will be less likely to experience any delays during the construction due to worker shortages. 14% less likely filling these craft worker positions, 8% more likely to add workers. And we most of the time have less supply chain issues due to our contractors being bigger and having more contacts. And then just through our apprenticeship programs, you guys are getting them off the ground here. All of the building trades have registered apprenticeship programs already, which are zero cost to the taxpayer. We see this as a partnership, and we also, you guys haven't been introduced, but we have the AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust Fund, which is the $7.3 billion endowment that invests in affordable and workforce housing. But the caveat of it is it has to be built with 100% union. We do not see that we would ever come up as a worker shortage here, because we're not building 30 unit or 30 story buildings in downtown Boston. We're building, 6 stories, 200 unit buildings, and you're not building 100 of them at a time. So I think that working together, we could make this work, but to have some incentive for the workers is always what's left out. We just heard about the developers. We just heard about the contractors, but we're not doing the fair trade with the actual workforce. And the workforce is the one that is going to bring the economic development that you're looking for, and the economic added to the local areas where these projects are being done. So if they're being paid more, then they're going to spend more in the local community. And that's the only way to solve the problems here in Vermont with affordability. And we want to, bring more people here because that adds tax revenue. Higher wages add tax revenue. Unions typically will always have medical, dental, vision for their members, so we will not be subsidizing from the state. Our benefit plans carry throughout the winter, where a lot of non-union plans do not. So I feel like the idea is excellent, and I feel like we may not fix it, but we are definitely a tool that is not being utilized here in this crisis in Vermont.
So you heard, thank you, Larry, that's helpful. You heard me sort of qualify that one of the things we've been talking about is clarifying this for multi-unit, fairly good size development rather than individual homes. And also considering the prevailing wage being, if there isn't, because I would love to have you speak to the percent because it is a concern how much union labor is actually here at the moment for building contractors. So I guess my question is, of the current big affordable housing projects that are going on at the moment with Chittenden Housing Trust or with Twin Pines, how much of that labor is already union?
So I would say minimal, like the ABC or AGC guy said, it would be the skilled trades here.
Yes.
And one thing that Vermont is lacking is the unskilled trades training, because construction goes at a snail's pace here. And that's something that needs to be addressed if we're ever going to create an affordable Vermont.
And what do you mean by unskilled? Because every trade is a skill.
Well, this is what he was saying. So we all have apprenticeship programs,
right?
Like my laborers, which everybody looks down on a labor, but we will do 4,000 hours in the field and then 300 hours in the classroom before you are considered a journey worker. And through that time, you will take not only learn in the field, but learn all these things that you may not even need right away, but in the long run throughout your career, because nobody's going to trust a brand new apprentice to run the grade on a site project. And it's the most important job there, but we all know how to do it when we leave the training center. Right. So The other thing that the non-union workforce in the construction industry happens is a lot of them move on from the construction industry because there is no future. I have numerous members here that are public sector employees working for cities and towns that have moved on from the construction sector to get a pension or healthcare that's good or all these things. So the union model creates a stability in your workforce. And then with the apprenticeship programs and the training, it creates a better product, which normally comes in on time, under budget, on budget, and really to pay a little more and make sure your building is live as soon as possible. Seems like it should be in the developers and the contractors' best interest, because especially in housing, if you're not filling those units, you're not generating any revenue.
And this is meant to be a carrot so that we can build more housing. It's a density bonus.
Right,
We-
it's not it doesn't punish anybody else, it's
Right.
just an additional benefit for unions and labor.
Yeah, and I mean, the project labor agreement model, we could visit too, if you guys were willing, and JP could get the AFL Housing Investment Trust people to talk
Yeah.
to you about that,
That's an
because
additional incentive, obviously.
it's a huge amount of money and it's been used in every New England state except for Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, so we should use it somewhere up here, and it's been utilized in New York.
Which is great.
Hundreds of thousands of units that they've put online.
Yeah, well, 70.3 billion is tempting. And I could, right now, we're all,
Everybody
Pretty
needs money.
right, exactly. Thank you. We would appreciate having your testimony sent to Kara and to all of us. Any questions for Larry before we move?
Well, I'd just say, while Larry's in the witness chair, I mean, this came out of a lot of conversations about the communities that want to build large scale multifamily housing. Most of their leaders, their mayors or their town managers want to, as part of their discussions about building height and zoning and density, they want to use union labor. They want to see more union activity in their communities, in Burlington and Winooski, for example, where these big projects are happening. And for me, this is a way of saying, you get some of what you want, but without, as often is true on the sort of liberal side of things, constraining the project more and more throughout the process so that it no longer, has the cost per unit that we would like to see. So it's the win-win of all of this is that you could have a union built project that then people in unions can afford to live in, that serves middle class needs. And I think that's what a lot of leaders in communities ready to build multifamily housing want to see, is that this strengthens the middle class. So and I think that's what government is here for. I heard this said it politicizes things, but we're here to sometimes pick winners. We're not even saying there's losers involved in this, but we're saying that unions and labor are winners for the economy and for the middle class. And that's, what this committee has traditionally done, is trying to figure out ways to bolster collective bargaining and people having access to long-term sustainable jobs.
Great.
I still have not heard anything that tells me that this is going to result in an increase in housing or an increase in the ability to build housing.
Well, what do you want to hear?
Well, I'm saying, what's the purpose?
But the incentive is to, if you use union labor, that you get to build more units on that location, that you would have a density bonus.
Mhm.
Why would not say the same thing to non-union? If you are a contractor who has a labor force, that you can build more units on a location that we want you to.
I think that is a question that I would like to, given that we have 10 minutes left, I would love to have that conversation among us as we discuss.
Well, again, I think it's equally appropriate to have it also with the unions,
Yeah.
so that we get the input of the people who actually know what they're talking about. We don't.
Right. So to that end, I'd love to bring Matt Glavin up, who is the president of the Vermont Building and Construction Trades Council, so that we can continue this conversation, but hear all our witnesses before we have to move to Senate National. because I think, good point, good question.
Thanks for having me today.
Good to be here again.
I'm Matt Clappin. I'm the business agent for New Hampshire and Vermont, for the Ironworkers Local 7. We're based out of Boston, but we also cover Maine as well. We have a few satellite offices. I'm also recently elected the president of the Vermont Building Trades.
Congratulations.
And, we represent thousands of skilled workers across the state of Vermont. And I'm just gonna kind of speak mostly about PLAs. That's basically what I'm gonna talk about today.
PLA.
What is a PLA?
Project labor agreements.
Thank you.
And the importance of union labor. Union labor isn't a workforce preference. It directly impacts quality, safety, efficiency, and long-term economic stability. Workers are compensated, and they have the ability to retire with dignity. That's the things that we do every day, and that's something that's important. We bring quality and skilled construction, union apprenticeship programs. We produce highly skilled workers with years of hands-on experience, ensuring durable and resilient housing for the state of Vermont as well. Another thing that we do is we group in the Ironworks, we have 6,000 hours that's required in the 3 years of apprenticeship. So like I said, it takes a special kind of person to just get up on the iron and do work. You don't have apprentices that are doing that. That's kind of work your way into that. Same with welding and same with all the other the aspects of our trade. So our rebar reinforcing, windows and glass, which would typically work at boom lifts at high heights, dealing with cranes at heights, and then the safety that comes along with that. It's a culture that we build as you're learning from journeyman, as you're learning from foreman, etc. With PLAs too, there's also project stability. They maintain a reliable supply of workers, which usually I'm the one that supplies them. We've done multitudes of bridges across the state, no issues, hitting targets. We actually got called to go to Burlington Place when the first phase of it took almost a year. We got it done in 16 days. Now, these are the things that we do. We build things to last. We build things with efficiency, and our members that know that, and that's the reason why we've been around for over 125 years. We also offer helmets to hard hats, which is a program through the National Building Trades, and that's a direct pipeline for veterans to get right into a licensed apprenticeship. And this is something I'm sure that Vermonters would love to hear too, is when they come back from their service, they know they have a pipeline to a middle class job right off the bat. And that's something we bring with PLAs. Like we can put stipulations in there for helmets to hard hat. We can ensure veterans are getting on these projects. We can ensure that local workforce is getting on these projects, so that you're building something with state money, and there's going to be a stability with that rises all tides. Even on a PLA does not require that only union trades can bid on projects. It just requires they meet the standards that are in that PLA. So it isn't pushing them out. It's just making the developers, the owners, have to maybe pay their workers a little more.
So is that something we should consider adding to this union labor and PLA?
Probably depending on the project and the municipality. Like I said, we can, we will work with any developer. So far, it's been a tough battle in Vermont. It's something that we want to work on. We want to create the culture here.
So what if this bill passed tomorrow, and even if we didn't modify it at all, would you have enough union labor in the construction trade, not in the specialty trades? Because we know, in the subcontracting trades, that's a pretty, and we still need more plumbers and electricians, but we know we have them. The question I have for you is, because it's one that Richard raised, do we have enough workforce at the moment, enough union workforce at the moment in Vermont to meet the demand if this went through?
For us,
if people wanted that extra 20%.
For us, we went to challenge. We probably have about 20 some odd iron workers that live in the state of Vermont. Todd, who was my steward but he lives in Burlington, South Burlington. So for him, that was a great job because he got to go to 5 minutes from his house.
You mean the Burlington place?
Yes, yeah. So, but it is a challenge because it's been the building trades, especially, and I can't speak to all the mechanical trades, the electricians. It's been hard for us and for developers to get on board with us. So it's been kind of like, it feels like an untapped well.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can help legislate. You guys can help legislatively, and then we can work on providing you the workforce for these projects. it's something, it's a relationship that we both can have together where we're just building this as we go. This, yeah.
Kind of like iron workers, because my grandfather was an iron worker.
Yeah, I'm a second generation. My dad did 30 years in the trade. He passed away 3 years ago, but he got 12 years of dignified retirement. He got to enjoy the fruits of a long, sustained career.
So help me understand the difference between an iron worker and well.
Well, we have welders that are in our
Because when we
trade.
train at, reason I ask is CTE, we have a very good welding program
Oh, yeah.
around the state. But I never hear them talk about iron work. Is that a piece of the welding training?
It is, but I mean, multiple crafts weld.
Yes.
So pipe fitters weld, millwrights. Iron workers are just kind of like a special kind of silly welding. Like we're the ones that are up, hanging off the building upside down. In some cases, 20 stories above the street. We do the stuff that most people look at and they're like, how, we build things also too that we bounce our grandkids on our knees and say, look, we built that. It's a point of pride, like I have a few projects, mainly a big bridge that I did in Amesbury, Mass. It was probably one of the, watching frozen river water flow underneath you while you're 300 feet up in the air making bolts. It's sitting on a piece of wood that's flowing in the breeze. Takes a special kind of person. So like, that's why like iron working is not something that I can say that, not everybody who does welding fits the mold of an iron worker. Whereas most iron workers can weld.
Yes, those iconic photographs in the 19th century of the people building the Empire State Building and the Chrysler
Having lunch.
and they're hanging in the air doing.
But now we at least have the safety standard where guys go, they're not waiting on the street for somebody to fall so they can take their job.
So any other questions for Matt? No? Yeah.
Well, I think we also want to build up the supply side with building up the demand side for chip, right? Like we just passed a $2 billion infrastructure program and we don't have enough workers in general, right? Like they need to see that there's quality of life ahead of them. My brother-in-law joined the building trades today after working for his parents' family business and my in-laws' family business. I think this is very good for his quality of life. So he's a lot of HVAC experience and finally gets to kind of be his own boss. And it's very exciting. And we need more workers, period. And more workers are demanding that they have that quality of life and that they can retire when their bodies are, not able to do the work anymore. And that's what our unions offer.
Well, thank you. If you'd be kind enough, because I see you do have written that, Tony, if you'd be kind enough to email it to Kiara, that would be. Oh, she has. Okay, great, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we have anything further, my guess is we will modify this a bit and we'll keep the discussion going. But thank you very much. And we are going to move to Senate Natural Resources, where we're going to hear about the 802 homeless proposal. And for those of you who didn't hear Building Tomorrow on National Public Radio last night, it was so exciting and it really addresses in large measure some of the things we're going to hear right now. So those of you interested, we're going to move on over to the Senate Natural Resources. We'll screen from there. Thank you. That's so awful.